Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna. It's okay. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming out to our second session of the day. We have Jennifer Sims. She's going to be talking about story maps, and Jen is our resident story map guru here at Parks. I'm pretty sure if anyone's made a story map, they've spoken to Jen. So, Jen, we're looking forward for you to share your wisdom with us today.
wonderful. Well, thank you for that introduction, and I'm excited to be here with putting yourself on the map, how to leverage story maps to communicate your successes. As Keegan mentioned, my name is Jennifer, and I'm a principal park naturalist over at Meadowside Nature Center. And I am really thrilled to be a part of GIS Week, and just a shout out to the GIS team for organizing all of this, all the presentations this week. I'm really looking forward to some that are coming up later on today and Thursday and Friday. So thank you for that. I do consider myself a part of the GIS team, but in a really small capacity, and I'm kind of the odd person out, and that's my personal title on it. That is because I love to use the suite of Esri tools that are available, like StoryMaps and Survey 123, but I typically don't use them for what they're intended for. So if you were to create a story map, it's usually because you have some kind of mapping data that you want to then tell that story to the public, who's not going to want to look at charts and graphs per se, but maybe like you can tell the whole story from beginning to end. Well, that's wonderful, and I'm there for the story part, but I'm not really there for the mapping and like a small part of the data. So let me tell you what I mean. I am going to share my screen and hopefully get this to play. There we go. So this is our PDF story map. It's the first link in the chat. So if you don't want to watch the video of it going, you can go ahead and scroll on your own by opening the PDF yourself. So this is an example of our annual accomplishment report. We have been creating accomplishment reports since 2021, and it takes since 2021, when it first started in 2021, when things started to move a little bit slower for us due to COVID. And we were trying to still continue our on-site, we had canceled our on-site programming, but we were trying to get into the virtual world. How can we still connect with our community during this shutdown? And so that's when we started collecting our post-program evaluation data by using a Microsoft form. And at the end of every program, staff would answer a couple of questions. And so we would learn and gather whether or not our program ran, or was our program canceled due to weather or low enrollment? And other things we would look at were, what was the category of your program? Was it a field trip? Was it a scout program? Was it a raptor program? Was it given in sign language, Spanish, special education? We also looked at demographics, time of day of week, and cost. And we looked at if we offered any additional messaging related to stormwater or climate change. So those are all examples of data points collected in our Microsoft form. And it is an invaluable repository of information on the scope and volume of programs that we've offered throughout the year. So looking at this data, it serves two purposes. The first one is communicating our impact, both internally and externally, out to the public. And it helps us create a by the numbers report, which you're seeing right there, our 2024 year by the numbers. It's a great tool for answering questions about the activities that we did during our extended, during our closing during COVID and our extended renovations. It also allows us to track our program growth starting from 2020, and it's demonstrated our continuous increase in programs and our new offerings each year. We have grown every year since 2020, so I'm very proud of our team. It is also an excellent way to share our achievements across parks like today, and showcasing what we've accomplished, who we've partnered with, and how we've promoted other sections of parks, and how we're meeting key initiatives like the Park Sustainability Plan, the Montgomery County Climate Action Plan, and Thrive 2050. The second prong of our data is strategic future planning. So by looking at our data, it can help us understand which programs had the highest and lowest enrollment, and maybe we could look at why. We also looked at our program fees. So how much did our programs cost and which ones had the highest enrollment based on those fees? So spoiler for last year, it was our virtual Flora and Fauna series, and it was $30 per person. And so for that price point and our enrollment, that was our sweet spot. Most folks were still willing to pay that fee, and virtual programming is still very much alive. And then we also looked at programs that repeat. So for example, Meadowside is known for our Raptor Caretaker Chat programs. And before COVID, those programs might have been offered during the week, say on a Friday morning, so that we could reach out to the folks, grandparents who are home with kids, homeschool groups, stay-at-home parents. And then during our closure, we moved that Raptor Caretaker Chat to Saturdays. So by looking back at those numbers, we can see, well, how did we do offering that program every Friday at 11 a.m.? Or how did we do offering that program at Saturday from 2 to 2:45? So because we can look at this information, we can say, okay, Saturday is the highest enrollment for those programs, which makes sense because Saturday, a lot of people are off of work. So I would pause right here because I'm open to looking at the chat while I'm presenting. So do you have any questions on what I've talked about in terms of our data collection? So just as a recap, we talked about the method of collecting data, which was Microsoft Forms and how it was compiled. And then that our data is communicating a two-pronged approach. It communicates our successes internally and externally, and we use this information to strategically plan any upcoming programs. So I can wait a second. Otherwise, I'm going to pause that and stop sharing the screen for a moment. Yeah, that's a great question, Alyssa. With how will you collect data on contact hours? I would be happy to, when I'm scrolling through the story map, I will answer that question. Okay, so let's get into, no problem. Let's get into creating the accomplishment report, which is really my favorite part. I'm not a data person at all, but I'll do it because I know that I get to then mess around with a story map. So while I'm very, very proud of creating this accomplishment report, it is a labor of love. It takes, a couple other people from parks, the GIS team, PACP, to kind of help pull all of this together. I am also aware that if you do not have stake in a company or agency, that I bet everyone on this call has maybe, I'm going to say maybe never gone out and sought out someone else's accomplishment report. Like, what is Nature Conservancy doing? What did they achieve last year? I feel that people aren't looking forward to that. But I know that our Nature Center has a lot to share. We've come a long way since 2020. We've been through a lot, and we just have many successes that it's time to put that out to the world so that they can see what we've been doing. So the very first thing that I have done when I create the accomplishment report is I head over to any other agencies that have had accomplishment reports, and that is the time that I start Googling, what does their layout look like? What is the new, what are some of the new media that people are using? And what I love about a PDF accomplishment report is that it can be easily printed. It is easy to send in emails, post on social media, embed in websites, and I work with PACP to have it remediated for 508 compliance. There are some cons with just a paper PDF. You can only put a few photos in it, and the reason for that is the more photos and embellishments you add, the higher the cost for remediation, the less accessible it is, the longer the report, and the less likely someone's going to finish reading it. You cannot put any videos or anything interactive in it, and there is a price to print it. But a story map. So before I get that, let me see if I can share my screen, pull up the story map. And again, that link for you is I shared. Let me move you over here. Okay, the link for this story map is in the chat. So you're welcome to scroll through it on your own. So a story map, you can load this up with content. You can put photos, you can put video, you can put sound effects inside it, and any decorative embellishments that you can imagine. So I like to shout out our PACP Canva team. I definitely worked with them to be able to create parks branding for this story map. It is also more interactive, and I think the more interactive it is, the more likely that folks are going to engage with it. Story maps are easy to use. It's basically scrolling like a website. And then again, I mentioned putting in videos that you've created, YouTube videos, sound and music. And then of course it's a link, so it can be shared easily on social media and emails, or even directly embedded into our website. So there is a con though for story maps. They are working towards being more ADA accessible. It's not perfect, but both Esri and our GIS team are making strides in achieving the best accessible product possible. So I would like to just quickly walk you through our annual accomplishment report for last year to show you how it was assembled. So my first stop when I get to the story map is to always go to the Esri Story Map Gallery. And you can just Google that and you will look at some of the most beautiful, award-winning, outstanding story maps that were created from organizations around the world. And I like to kind of get ideas from them. And so this year for 2024, we have a native flower theme. And we always like to kick our stories, our accomplishment report off in general with a little overview from Carolina Giraldo, that is the manager of Meadowside Nature Center. And she just provides a broad overview of what are our highlights for the last year. So there's Carolina in the blue shirt here teaching a program. And then our next is always to put what our program journey is, what's the mission of parks, so people know what we're working towards. Meadowside also has a mission statement of connecting with our community in nature. And then again, that by the numbers, this is always right at the top, like right after Carolina, right after the mission. Here's the big picture of what we did. And that's because I can't assume everyone's going to continue to read or scroll through it. So if you make it to this point, this is the takeaway that I hope you glean from reading all of this. So here, Alyssa, is the contact hours. So we had just over 12,000 contact hours. So that is multiplying each participant by the length of the program and then adding that up across all of our programs. And I use Excel for that, a little formula to run those totals. And then we offered 185 programs last year across all of our categories. And we worked with 58 amazing volunteers with over 1,390 hours of volunteer time. And we enrolled just over 4,000 participants. And I can't see the chat now. So if there's a question, maybe Keegan, just let me know.
Yeah.
And then our first group is our school and scout programs. Oh, I do see Alyssa raised your hand. I don't see the link. Okay, go ahead, Alyssa.
Hi. Yeah, hi, Jen. This is Elisa, and I just wanted to, the question I had is when you reopen to the public, how are you going to incorporate the contact hours? Like, are you going to track the hours of people that are just coming to visit, not specifically for a program?
That is a fantastic question. I can give you my best guess, but I have never worked at Meadowside while it's been open. And I'm wondering, Elisa, if Carolina is on the call.
Hi, this is Grace. I can chime in a little bit.
Thank you,
We will only count things as contact hours when a naturalist has been actively engaging with somebody. So if they're just dropping in, we will count those drop-in numbers, but we won't count it as contact hours unless we're doing some kind of impromptu interpretation that may get counted as contact hours because we do a lot of that.
Okay,
Does
thanks.
that help answer?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Grace.
Jen, this is Lou. We had a question on whether this particular story map is public.
So this particular, well, let me follow up with Lisa. So just for understanding of where I got our contact hours for this particular story map, we were only looking at programs that we, like official formal programs that we offered throughout the year. And we could do that because we haven't been open to the public, so we didn't need to yet calculate the hours spent with the general public. So that is where this number is coming from. To Lou's question, this particular story map is not available to the general public. It is available within the commission. And the reason for that, and Keegan, correct me if I'm wrong, is because it hasn't fully achieved its ADA compliance where we can get it out to the public, but internally it was approved for use.
Correct.
Correct, okay. Okay, so back to our school groups and scout programs. What I like about, so there's always a little paragraph describing what we have done, and I highlight the key takeaways. Again, I don't expect people to go through this and read this word for word. So if you're skimming, you just want to look at, okay, we did 1,800 hours of environmental science education. We had 18 different schools that came to our site, our nature center. And then we'll always highlight and shout out the schools that did come to visit us or we went to them. And then because we have the opportunity to squeeze in a lot of photos, then I might elaborate a little bit on some of our key programs. And we do sometimes get feedback from teachers in writing, and that's always touching. We love to hear that they've enjoyed coming to our program, and I also like to incorporate that into our accomplishment reports as well. All right, our summer camps. We had 60 campers this year. So here again, like that's just what I want you to know. Overall, these are how many kids that that we were able to connect with for a week-long camp. And we'll talk about the different themes of camps that we had. And then I like this feature for story maps, a gallery, because you can put a whole lot on one page and you're not having to sit there and scroll and scroll and scroll. And so if people are just interested in like what's happening here, you can click on it and enlarge it and you can see one of our campers having a training demonstration with the vulture at Meadowside. And then onto our adult programs, again, highlighting the key features. The photo here is from our American Sign Language paint and sip program that we had out on the Raptor deck. You can see we've done a lot of fire starting, LGBTQ History Month, our Master Naturalist program. Using the story map is really your opportunity to just shout out all the amazing work that you're doing. I won't do it here for the presentation, but if you have the link, you can watch Gillis, our vulture, do some enrichment where they did painting with Victoria. Victoria's picture is hidden behind the text here, but it's a great photo of how a video of how Victoria trained the vulture to paint across this canvas here that they're holding. And really, our Raptor programs are the ones that we offer the most. So 64 programs and 2,497 people are coming to learn about our animal ambassadors. Our family programs are another big category of programs that we offer, connecting with 910 individuals. Programming for our community. So this is one of our LGBTQ history walks that we did. And I like to say that we only had 9 programs offered here. Well, that number might seem small. We enrolled over 112 participants. So that's huge. And our Spanish speaking programs. This is a collaboration with Program Access. Back to the paint and sip again, pointing out just our American Sign Language programming. So this is Ellen. Ellen is a deaf artist from Frederick who's come to teach at Meadowside, I think 3 different times now, and has just led really magical experiences. And so here Ellen is describing in sign language the different colors that you can choose to paint your butterfly, and the person there that was just in the bottom left in all black clothing is the interpreter through Program Access. So we always work closely with them. And then beyond our nature center, so things that don't necessarily fit into a program, but we're still really proud of what we've been doing, is implementing our zero waste kit. Sorry, just checking the chat. Implementing our zero waste kit. So it is it's table setting, it's service for 70 people, and everything there, you can see a small collection of it is stainless steel. So if we no longer need it, we can recycle it again, but we use this kit during any of our programs that might need a plate, a cup, a fork. And now that it has grown with support from the park sustainability team, we're now able to offer our zero waste kit to other programs that are being hosted through the Nature Center. So they come, they borrow the kit. Meadowside has a new dishwasher, so it's much, much easier to use the kit and then throw everything in the dishwasher. And what we're doing here is diverting 823 items from the landfill, and that just means instead of buying plastic cups to throw away, we reused them. So I'm counting how many items that we kept from the trash, and we've composted 13 pounds of food. And then having the zero waste kit is supporting our sustainability plan, but also the Montgomery County Climate Action Plan. And then talking a little bit about our climate programs and our stormwater programs. So I'm on our stormwater team, and all of the work that the nature centers do to support the NPDES permit, or the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System. I know Kindle's on this, and Maggie, don't get mad at me if it's not system. Our water-related programming from Nature Center, all that data that helps support their permit as well. And so you can see that we offered 17 programs that were stormwater related, and we reached 145 people. Here's by the numbers on that. And then ending with our volunteers. And we had 58 volunteers with 1,390 hours of donated volunteer service. That equates to about $46,000 in service that we're getting from working with these wonderful people. And we just highlight a couple of the categories that they can volunteer in. And again, our highlights from our volunteers, because they're wonderful. So as many pictures of them we can put on there as possible. With a quote from one of the experiences from our volunteer last year. And then lastly, just a shout out to the team, our guidance here, Carolina, who's always open and welcome to supporting these kinds of projects, especially when it comes to shouting out all the good things that we've been doing. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen there. And just say that I'm really, really excited that you all signed up to hear about what we've been doing, that the GIS team is supportive of having us create story maps. The training team also decided they wanted to do a story map this year, and they did a fabulous job. So I want to just say that if anybody else is interested in learning how to use their data to tell a story either in a PDF or with a story map like this, that I'm happy to offer my guidance and support. And of course, so is the GIS team. So with that, I thank you, and let me know if you have any questions.
Jen, thank you for that. I think Lou's been handling most of the questions and being the best hype man ever. So thanks to Lou. Angela asks about a story map template, and I'll let you chime in, but Angela, it depends. If you're making a story map that it is intended for the Montgomery Parks website, Tiffany and I have a template. But if you are just working, let's say you're making a report like Jen, you could work with Jen, and I'm pretty sure you could use her template or some other template. It just depends on your intended use. But you could chime in more about the creativity around templates, Jen.
Yeah, I can add to that. It's kind of what I like about Esri Story Maps is there only are a handful of options. There's only so much creative freedom that you actually have with this. And in a way that it's nice, it helps keep you in line and not feeling overwhelmed with all your different choices. So if you want it to feel like a website, there's a template for that. If you are going to use mapping data, there's a wonderful template that helps you walk the map. So for example, if you all want to scroll back up to the top of the chat, there are a couple of other story maps that I've placed in there. There's one that's called Take a Virtual Hike. That I'm happy to, I lost where you all went. There. This one, Take a Virtual Hike, actually does use get to it. Here we go. Some mapping data to do like a guided hike along your trails. And so this particular story map is just highlighting some of the I call them oddities, some of the key features that you can explore as you're hiking the trails at Meadowside. So I would say there's maybe 4 different story map types. And then the rest of the features that you want to put in it is pretty much drag and drop. There's a little plus sign. So like I'm done with this map here. I want to add this line. You push the plus sign and it says add your divider and it'll add it for you. So it becomes pretty much like scrapbooking. You can only use the tools there that they have provided for you as options. So it's relatively easy. It just takes some playing around to get used to.
Jen, Rachel asks if you could paste the links. I know you did it like 3 times already.
Yeah.
But if you don't mind.
I don't mind. I will do it again. Any other questions while I'm doing that? Here's the story map that I went over. Here,
Jen.
Go ahead, Keegan.
Sorry, do you have your I didn't see it up, but do you have your Omarion story map? Do you mind just sharing that really fast? Is that putting
Which
you on
one?
the spot? Omarion? The bald eagle story map?
Ah, yeah.
Forgot about that one, huh?
I didn't. I would never. Yes, hold on. Let me put those. No problem, Keegan. I just am not, that is not the one that I have queued up, but I can do it while we're talking. So what Keegan is referring to is our animal ambassador, Orion. He's a bald eagle, had been with Meadowside for, let me open up, for a very, very long time as one of our key instructors, our key animal ambassadors. And in their memory of their passing, I put together a story map, and here it comes. There you go. There's the link. And here I'll show it to you. I'm looking back at his 25 years of service, and this particular story map has no data whatsoever. This is literally just a story about how wonderful Orion was. And this one is connecting with the press release, so kicking that off with this is what Parks has put out about the passing of Orion. And then I did interviews with some of the naturalists, the current and former employees of Meadowside who had worked with Orion to help tell their story. So what little anecdotes do you remember from working and training him? Do you have any old photographs? Like, for example, here's Orion. This might be one of the first photos that we have of him. And then throwing in a little bit of education, as you can see that here in the picture, he's mostly brown and white, and that it takes about 5 years for bald eagles to mature to the white head and black body and white tail. Okay, I guess there is a map, one small map, their breeding range. And then why do we have our animal ambassador species? So here's where I've incorporated just sound, which I realized I didn't share my screen with sound, so you can't hear it. But a shout out to Carter, who really worked with us to try to incorporate these little sound bites into the story. That was a big struggle for me, and Carter was like, oh, I can do this, no sweat. So I appreciate that.
It's a long time.
And here's the use of a video. It should play. He did like getting misted with a garden hose. Makes sense, Orion was from Alaska and around the water. So just another example of how these story, you can tell it any story that you want to tell about your property. I mean, the garden of lights, that would be a cool story about like where are you storing your Christmas lights, your holiday lights, and how are you putting it up? Like any story you would like to share with the public, I highly recommend utilizing a story map for that. Any other questions that I'm missing in the chat?
Just a lot of love, Jen.
I appreciate that too. Thank you. All right. Well, we're ending a little bit early unless there's anything anybody else needs.
No, I think I know Carter dropped some resources in the chat as well. I think that'll help folks out. But I think this was really good, Jen. I think it's a good way to share a story map. It's not all about maps, right? You have a creative outlet and you could share information in a different way. So always appreciate your story maps, and I'll make a plug for GIS Day later today. Jen did help me with something special that I'll be, hopefully I don't let you down, Jen, but I'll be sharing later today. But I hope, oh, Elena has a question. Go ahead, Elena.
Yeah, I was just wondering, and I'm sure this kind of depends because it depends on, how ready you are with your content and so forth. But let's say, I'm just wondering about timeline, right? Like time frame. So when you're planning to do your annual accomplishments report as a story map, you're making infographics in Canva, you're getting help from other departments. What kind of time are you budgeting for yourself from kind of getting started with mapping it out to being finished?
That's a really good question. And I would love to just say a lot. I purposely take a lighter program load starting January. So for this one in 2025, getting ready to write the accomplishment report, I would take January, February, and March. So about 3 months. Because I have created a template in the past, it's pretty easy to already, I already know how my data is tagged, how I'm going to query that information, and then what order I'm going to put it into the story map. So if you're doing this from the ground up, that's probably going to be your biggest lift, is figuring out how you want to organize your data and then making it easily searchable for you to break it out into the little pieces that you want to share. And then drafting it, I draft it first in Word, have everybody that is available to edit it, get some second set of eyes on it, and then plugging it. You can either copy and paste it into your story map. I also the story map, because I'm a very creative person, can take some time too if you want. If you want to keep the format the same every time in your story map, I think that's fine, and you can just swap out photos too. And then you do have to work with approval for, if you're doing a PDF, getting it remediated, but PACP is wonderful. And I want to say within about a week, they've gotten this turned around for me. Same with Keegan. Keegan always will approve your final story map just to make sure all the boxes are checked. And I feel Keegan also does that within like a week of his time.
Yeah, let's say that, yeah.
What did you say?
I say, yeah, let's say that, a week, yeah.
Yeah, a week, definitely. So, I mean, you got to budget the week for PACP, the week for GIS, and then I always do a social media rollout with PACP so that they know, in a document, here's what I plan to do to introduce the story map, and then here are some highlights that I want to do, and then here's finally the story map, and then getting it onto our website. So I would say 3-ish months. Now that's not me, I'm doing other things during those 3 months, but I would say a good 3 months to really get it all assembled after you've collected the data for however long.
Thank you. That's super helpful. And I don't think any of us has a luxury of doing one thing at once.
I know, it would be so nice. Anything else? There's a lot of conversation going on in there that
I don't
I'm
see
not
any
caught up.
questions. But no, this was really good, Jen. I really appreciate you doing this. You know how much I love your story maps. You're probably a better resource. You're definitely a better resource than I am when it comes to story maps in terms of creativity. So anybody wants to make a story map, reach out to Jen. You're gonna be busy, but thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. I'll make a plug for GIS Day. If you're in the building or if you're driving, we'd love to see you in person coming out. We have some really good baked goods, and we'd love to see everyone at one. So thank you, Jen.
You're welcome. And I'm happy to stay on if anybody wants to ask a question, not in front of everyone.
All right. Thanks, Jen. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.